Easter weekend 2015 is an apt time to put this interview with Matt Monro on YouTube. It was almost 50 years ago that I met him in the Queen Elizabeth Hotel in Montreal. Matt had been booked to appear in that hotel's very prestigious Salle Bonaventure, the city's finest nightclub, the place where Quebec's crooked politicians took their mistresses. We met in the restaurant the afternoon before his first night. He was there with his manager, the three of us all Cockneys. Matt was born in Shoreditch, I was born a few miles away off the Mile End Road, and his manager was from Stepney. And there we were, sitting in these ritzy surroundings and being able to afford it. Such is upward mobility. Matt was friendly, relaxed, and not afraid to answer any of my questions, which I admit were none too challenging. He had invited me to the first night as his guest. That was perfect for me. I had just met a new woman, a model, and I was lusting. Yes, I was young and foolish. We turned up at the Salle Bonaventure, got a seat at the front row table, and the floor show started. Matt came bounding on, full of energy, to a half-empty room, because Quebec is 80% Catholic, and not many Quebecois went clubbing at Easter time. Matt surveyed the audience, spotted me sitting up front and said, "And I can see my very good friend Martin Bronstein in the audience." I can tell you my new lady friend was very impressed. I knew the stars. I never told her that I had met Matt for the first time that afternoon. After the show, I took her home, and the evening had a happy ending, as they say in the massage parlours. Am I a fan of Matt Monro? Well, if a famous man helps me to get laid on my first date with a woman, then yes, I'm a fan for life. I started by asking Matt whether he liked to travel or whether it was a financial necessity.
Being in this particular profession, I have to work. I don't have to work. I choose to work in all sorts of countries, places, situations, which, shall we say, a politician wouldn't find himself dead in. But I never get mixed up with politics.
You don't think that an entertainer should get mixed up in politics at all?
Not at all. I'm here to entertain. I'm not here to educate or be educated by any particular country or political scene that I'm involved in, or that that particular country is involved in. I'm here purely and simply to sing songs and to entertain people. If I can do that, then I've done my political work.
Would you entertain in front of a segregated audience?
Yes, I have done. In South Africa, we played mainly to whites. Then when we went to a place called Pietermaritzburg, that was a segregated audience. It was the white audience were downstairs and the coloured audience were upstairs. So I got my own back in my own little way by doing an all-coloured show where whites weren't allowed. All the guys in the hotel, the waiters and one thing or another, were saying to me, "Oh, Mr. Monro, it's terrible you can't do a show for us." So I said, "Well, why can't we?" And we did a show, a third show one evening. We went out and did a special show at a theatre, all coloured. And it was a gas. It was beautiful. I enjoyed it so much, and it's probably the best audience I ever appeared for in South Africa.
How did you find South Africa, the people of South Africa and Rhodesia?
I found them very happy. I had the opportunity of speaking to many people in the hotels, basically, where I stayed, and the staff. And, for instance, regardless of what you read or may read in the press, I didn't find any animosity. They all seemed perfectly happy. I know there's been a lot of press about the coloured people doing, shall we say, the subservient jobs, like houseboys and things like that. But if they weren't working as houseboys, and I'm talking specifically now about Africa, if they weren't working as houseboys or waiters, they probably wouldn't be working at all. They'd be out in the bush somewhere, And I found them very happy people. They're very content with a lot, and they, believe it or not, I sound like a plug for South Africa here, but I don't mean it that way. It's my own observations. A lot of them are very well educated. I mean, obviously, when you get out into the country, which we didn't do, so I can't speak with any authority upon that. If they're out there living in a kraal and sort of working the fields and one thing and another, they can't obviously have the education that the people living in the cities are getting. But the people in the cities seem to be getting a good education and, well, they're working and they're earning a good living. I think they're earning a good living anyway. Don't quote me on that.
Okay, Matt, let's move on to matters musical. I've often thought that a singer gets more successful the better he gets at choosing the right songs. And I think that you or your managers have had a particularly good talent at this. Now, who does choose your songs?
Basically, I do, in conjunction with the man whom I make records with, my recording manager. We probably go through about 100 songs a week when I'm there, when I'm with him. But I'm travelling so much that he weeds, shall we say, the chaff from the grain. Is it the chaff from the corn? I'm not even sure. Corn being the operative word, I think. He weeds out the stuff that he knows is not going to be any good. And then we sort of sit down and go through the final selection, as it were. And if he would never insist, and neither would I. But if he feels strongly about a song, which I don't, I'll record it and see how it turns out, and vice versa. And I think the final issue is, it's a dual thing, you know, we both decide upon a title for a particular record.
Do you know what you're looking for? Can you put it into words what you're looking for?
Yeah, a good song. A good song being a song with a good melody line, which is generally easily remembered, and a lyric which tells a story, I think.
Let's go back to the beginning. I remember when Matt Monro kind of hit the front pages of the British newspapers as the bus driver who kind of made it overnight. Now, how long was that overnight?
Overnight lasted about 15 years, I think, something like that. You see, Martin, I've been singing since I was about 15 years old, on and off. Not very well, but I was singing. And I have various jobs with semi-professional dance bands. Then I went in the army. I was in the army for 5 years. And I really started singing properly, I think you would say, in Hong Kong when I was in the service. But I started doing shows and radio shows, and they didn't have television then. And I started doing troupe concert shows. I came home expecting to set London alight with my talent, and nothing happened at all. It was dreadful. Until then I was working on the buses, but while I'd been with semi-pro dance bands, I'd made a private recording, and it was heard by a lady called Winifred Atwell, who was a big star at home. And she played it to her husband, who was a booking agent, who played it to the BBC, and they signed me up with the BBC show band. And that was basically the start of the whole thing.
That was a 15-year overnight thing, was it?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Did you have any musical training at all?
No, I've never had any musical training at all. As a matter of fact, this is a very interesting thing. Well, to me it was. It may not be to your listeners, but it was to me. Our maid this morning in the hotel here came in and she said, "Are they pictures of your kids?" So I said, "Yes, they are pictures of my kids." She said, "Does the boy sing?" I said, "No, he doesn't sing. Well, not to my knowledge." She said, "Well, you should train him." I said, "Oh, thank you very much." She said, "Because now is the time." I said, "Oh, all right, thank you." He's 3 years old. But I told her this, but she was quite adamant I should definitely teach him to sing.
You say you're living now at the moment with your family out in Los Angeles. Why are you doing this, Matt?
Well, basically, Martin, because the majority of my work this year is in the States, in America, and if I don't take them to Los Angeles, I'll never see them at all. I see them little enough as it is, traveling as I do. Fortunately, my wife is able to travel with me some of the time, but my children never, because one's 8 years old and at school, and the other one is 3 years old. He's a rotter. He wrecks everything. He really is.
Anybody who says that about his kids can't be all bad.
Well, he is. I've got news for you. No, he's a darling, but well, I can't use the expression on the air, but he is a rotter.
It's not you thinking that you may want to move to the States permanently, is it?
It could be, you know. my wife and I say we, my wife and I, we love California. We enjoy life there very much indeed. The kids love it. My daughter is going to an American school now for the first time. She's only been there about 6 or 8 weeks, and she's out of her mind. She thinks it's the greatest thing that ever happened. My boy seems very happy there. So if my agents come up with enough work to keep me working in America, then I'll be happy to stay.
It's nothing to do with the musical climate. At one time, Britain was a bad place for singers because everything came from the States. But this is done a reverse now, isn't it? Everything seems to be coming from Britain.
Yes, in England today, I would say that the popular music field, and that is embracing all aspects, the rock and roll, say, my kind of music, I think basically is dominated by English artists. As you say, American artists, shall we say 10 years ago, really dominated the popular music scene. The charts, the hit parade as it were, was, I would say, 95% American artists and 5% British artists. But now it's quite the reverse. I think this happened with the advent of the Beatles, when America suddenly said to themselves, and I mean America as a whole, North and South America, suddenly said to themselves, well, I don't know, these guys have got talent, let's have a listen. And they listened, and they found there were quite a few things that they enjoyed, which I think accounts for the success of British artists over here as well.
Who have been some of your influences in singing?
Well, naturally the governor, Frank Sinatra. But the strange thing was, when I was a kid, I started out doing an impersonation of Perry Como, who has influenced me a great deal. I love Perry Como's singing. Vic Damone I like very much. Nat Cole, obviously. If I could sound and phrase like Frank Sinatra, with the warmth of Nat King Cole and the interpretation of Tony Bennett, I'd be very happy.
That'd be 1.5 schizophrenics, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would. It really would.
Okay, Matt, you worked for 15 years for an overnight success, and success finally came. What did you find hardest to take when success came?
Martin, without any hesitation, I say the separation from my family. We're a happy family, basically. Fortunately, I've been traveling since before the kids were born, so that they have accepted the separations. Until I went to South Africa, which was for 6 weeks. 3 weeks has been the longest separation I've ever had from my family.
Well, Matt, you seem a very happy man, and
I am very happy.
It comes through, and I hope you have a very good stay here in Montreal.
Thank you very much indeed, Martin.
Thank you for speaking with us.